week 3 of the Breaking Up with Perfect study. I have a special guest here with me this week. This is Barry Carroll. He is my husband, the father of my children, my very best friend, the love of my life. So excited to have you here with me this
week. And a
week,
Facebook
honey.
Live newbie.
Yeah, he's a little nervous like we were the first week. So
yeah.
I was glad that I could talk him into it. Hey, welcome to you this week too. So glad you're here. I want to just talk about what a blessing our Facebook page has been to me this week. I feel like we've had a little love explosion on the Facebook page this week. And especially around Donna's son who is coming home from being deployed. And everybody chiming in and praying for her. That has been a blessing to watch. Donna, we love you. Hope that's been a blessing to you too. I wanted to say that I got to hang out this week with the Proverbs 31 online Bible study team with Nikki and Melissa. Some of you may know them. I love them so much and I always learn things from them. It was fascinating to watch how they do their videos where they're a little more high-tech than I am here. If y'all could see what was going around here, you'd be laughing.
Yep.
But one of the things that they said, Nikki told me, is she said, Amy, a lot of people drop out in week 3. Don't be surprised by that. Don't be startled by that. And I was like, okay, so we're just going to address that right here. This is week 3. We're going into it. Don't quit. We want you to stay with us. So I know that you might be behind. If you're behind or if you're just starting, because we still have some people joining us, I want to encourage you, if you've just joined, what I do is I would read the introduction and then jump right over to chapter 4 where we're starting this week. If you're behind, start on chapter 4. It's totally fine. Each chapter kind of stands alone. So I want to back up since I've encouraged you, like don't quit, hang in there. I think if you chime in on the Facebook page, you're more likely to become part of the community and stay with us. So I wanted to ask Barry, just to give him a chance to catch up with us.
No.
So Barry, we've talked about things that we like to do on our perfect day. If you had the perfect day, you could plan it out. What kinds of things would you include?
Ooh, well, I might have to get in a round of golf or maybe fishing.
Would I be in the golf cart?
You can ride along.
Okay.
I tried to get her to play with me over the years, but that's a no-go. So
I take a book.
That's right. A book is good. Let's see. It's football season, so an afternoon of maybe watching a football game.
Okay.
And if Carolina wins and Duke loses, that's a plus. That's a perfect day.
We are light blue in this house for
Absolutely.
sure.
So, and you said perfect day, so we won't get into the perfect night, right? Keeping this PG.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'm just telling you, I told him he had to behave on this. Y'all just hang in there with us. So anyway, okay.
A romantic night out with my wife.
Yes. Your grandmothers were amazing cooks.
Oh boy, were they.
So for you guys too, you can comment along with Barry. What was part of the perfect meal at your grandma's house?
Well, for my grandma Scott, it was just wonderful food on the farm, but the thing that I loved most was the fried pork tenderloin.
Okay.
And then for Grandma Carroll, she was always good. I would tell everybody she had the 4 basic food groups covered, which were deviled eggs, roast beef, fried chicken, and ham. So those are the 4 basic food groups as far as I'm concerned, and it was a feast at every meal.
I was a very blessed girl to marry into Barry's family, and I'm the fluffier for it. So
and there were always leftovers to bring home, which I was grateful for.
That's true.
Yeah.
Although your one grandma's house, the dogs got the leftovers.
Oh, Grandma Scott.
Best fed dogs in the whole wide world. So, all right. So, Barry, this week everybody got to read chapter 3. It's the famous story of bed making or not bed making. So I was a girl that walked down the aisle in my beautiful ivory wedding dress, but on my train I might have also drug along a load of heavy expectations. Would you say that's true? You can be honest here.
There's a strong possibility of that, yeah.
So we had a conversation about this. So this saintly man lived with a woman with a lot of heavy expectations. And we had a conversation recently, and I said, so Barry, what kind of expectations did you bring into our marriage, and what did you say?
I just wanted, I wanted her to love me, and that I would love her, and that's the way it would be, and we would just grow in that over the years.
Did y'all hear that? seriously, he said
That was
it, and that was it. And I was like, and what else? Like, did you expect me to cook dinner? Because that expectation would have been sorely, you would have been sad about that.
Back to Grandma's house.
Back to
Sorry.
and so, but yeah, that was it. And you know, one of Barry's greatest gifts to me, I think, over the years, maybe the greatest gift, is he really has just let me be. He hasn't tried to make me change. He hasn't acted disappointed that I didn't live up to these expectations, which who knew? He didn't even have any. I kind of dreamed them up. So that was amazing. So this is the man. How do you feel about making the bed these days?
There's in this Facebook audience may have seen it. It's kind of a viral video that's going around, and it's the self-making bed. Have you seen it? Because I want one of those in a big old king-size self-making bed.
I just saw a heart float by.
Press the
Somebody's
button, and it's automatically done for me. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, you know what? That would solve everybody's problem. All right, so I'm going to launch into a little bit of teaching, but chime right in if you need to, okay? Oh, our clock has gone off. He told me that was going to happen. All right, he's going to fix it while I talk. So, several years ago, last summer when the book came out, I got an opportunity to write an article for an online magazine for college students. And I agreed to do this, and then when I launched into writing, I thought, I have no idea what to say, because I've been out of college for a very long time. But then I realized, well, I have a college student, or two college students in our household. I should ask them. So I had a conversation with Anson, who is our oldest, and Anson struggles with perfectionism too. Maybe even more than I do.
Probably so.
I think so. And so I asked Anson, you know, how he processed things, and we were having this conversation. One of the things that came up is, okay, so we all want to do well. We want to do the right things. We want to do our jobs well. We want to have great marriages. We want to be great moms. And there are things that we want to achieve. Is that bad? Is that perfectionism? Or is there a place where we cross the line? Anson said some really interesting things. And what he said is, he said, Mom, I know that when I've crossed the lines, I've got some red flags. One of them is that I can't celebrate any progress. Like, once I make progress, all I do is I just raise the bar to the next thing. I don't stop and appreciate and celebrate. So, and he said, and I always know when it feels like it's never good enough, that no matter how hard I've worked or what progress I've made, that I've crossed from trying to do well into perfectionism. So I've been thinking about that and what it is that, when do we cross the line from wanting to do well into perfectionism? So there's some specific things for women that I think, some areas. My friend Kathy Lips says she's a pocket perfectionist, and I think that's true of all of us, that we're not necessarily perfectionists in every single area of our lives, that there are certain areas that are super important to us that we can kind of trip into perfectionism. Like for women, beauty. Watching the scale, putting on our makeup, fixing our hair, what do our clothes look like, all those things. See, but it's not a bad thing altogether. Even God loves beauty. All you have to do is look outside. He's so sweet. He's making me giggle. But all you have to do is look outside at the mountains and the sky and the clouds and all the beauty that God created. And we know that God loves beauty. In Exodus 25, there's this whole description of how, just to make the lampstand for the tabernacle. And it was made out of gold, and it had flowers as part of it. And so God cares about beauty. He's the creator of beauty. He loves beauty. So there's nothing wrong with women loving beauty. It's one of those feminine characteristics that we have. Or how about our homes? Now, this is one of my particular
Evidently, he really likes a made bed.
Oh, yeah. Exactly. But my home is a place that I can become a perfectionist. I like things neat. It can be a little bit dusty, but I want everything put away. And I really, really like to feather my nest. I like to buy things for my home. I like to paint my china cabinet. I like to do all kinds of things like that. Now, is that a bad thing? Oh yeah, pillows.
Lots of pillows.
Lots of pillows. And so, but is that a bad thing? No. Proverbs 31 and Titus 2 both describe women as the keepers of their homes. So it's not a bad thing to want to have a pleasant place to land at the end of the day, a nice home. Or, for example, marriage and parenting. I think that when we had our kids, that was when I fell into perfectionism. It was like my worst period. Where did that come from? Well, it was my desire to be a really terrific mom. And that was a good thing. So what I decided today as I processed some of this and took some notes and rewrote some old things into new things, as I thought, we know that we've crossed over from wanting to do well to perfectionism when we start wanting or doing good things in bad ways. That's really what the whole book is about. When our motives get off and we start doing those good things that we just talked about in bad ways. So how do we address that? How do we start solving the problem? Well, I'm going to read another very familiar passage tonight that I think we have some solutions in. So this is in Luke 2 and starting in verse 22. And Jesus said to his disciples, "Therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life." That's our first point. Just right there before he even finishes the sentence, is that we really have to banish worry from our life. Therefore, I tell you, do not worry about your life. I don't know about you, but when I'm worrying about the results a lot, I know I have crossed the line. Now, I have a confession to make. I might be currently dealing with this in my life. Barry knows that the way that worry shows up in my life is that I don't sleep. And so, or I go to sleep, and then about 3 o'clock in the morning, I wake up and I start obsessively thinking, and I call it the loop. And so, I have to do something to break the loop. What I've been trying to do is that when we're worrying, what can we do to break the loop? Start praying about those things instead. So, it's trying to replace those worries with thoughts about God and how, and trying to put those things into his hands. So banish worry. Then he goes on to say, "Therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat, or about your body, what you will wear. For life is more than food, and the body more than clothes. Consider the ravens, they do not sow or reap. They have no storeroom or barn, yet God feeds them. And how much more valuable are you than birds? Who of you, by worrying, can add a single hour to your life? Since you cannot do this very little thing, why do you worry about the rest?" I mean, why do we worry? That's kind of the source. It's because we think we can solve the problem. So not only do we have to banish the worry, but we have to remember the source. James, I love it. It says that God is the giver of every good and perfect gift. We want to make things good, and we want to make things perfect, but we cannot do it in our own power. And so we need to just give up on that and remember the source. Remind yourself of your value. He says here in Scripture how much more valuable you are than the birds. When we know who we are in God and how he values us, we can rest in that. And then this last part, it says, "Consider how the wildflowers grow. They do not labor or spin. Yet I tell you, not even Solomon in all his splendor was dressed like one of these. If this is how God clothes the grasses of the field, which is here today and tomorrow is thrown into the fire, how much more will he clothe you, you of little faith? And do not set your heart on what you will eat or drink. Do not worry about it." We've got to set our hearts on the right things. I know that what God has shown me, and you'll read about this in the book, and you have read about it in the book in the past, is when I've set my heart on the wrong things, they become idols. When I set my heart on God, he always proves himself trustworthy. So what we want to do is we want to replace our perfectionism with trust. This week was to really address some of the questions that were left on the Facebook page about, is it okay to want to do things well? And I would say absolutely yes. I hope this has answered that question. But we don't want to use the word excellence. I think we do this in the church all the time as a mask for perfectionism. The real deal is, where is the source? Where's the power coming from? Where's the strength coming from? If it's God, then we're doing well. If it's ourselves, we've crossed over into perfectionism. And then another thing that several of you have expressed on the Facebook page is that you're really concerned about your kids. And it's one of the reasons that you signed up for the study, is that you see some of your children displaying some of the things that you struggle with, and you're afraid you're passing it on. Well, I just got to confess and be real honest. I feel like I passed on my perfectionism to my oldest child. But let me give you some hope. It's so interesting. Anson has started reading my book for the second time, which blows my doors off. A 22-year-old boy would read this book, or man, sorry, he's a man, would read this book. And breaking up with Perfect together has been such an incredible bonding experience. Do you want to add anything before
No, I just listened to you talk about all that, and I think back to the family verse that we've had for so many years, which is Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. And I think when we start to lean on our own understanding and not on the Lord, that's when that perfection can really take over, because our pride gets in the way. I know for me that's a constant struggle.
Wow, that's good. That's really true. So what's the source of our strength, our wisdom, our understanding? If God's the one, we're not going to fall off the track so fast.